Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Horror Film Lovers Reviews. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with
John Ward.
John Ward, and we're doing another Blumhouse movie. We did last month we did The Hunt, and this month we're doing Black Christmas, and I forgot what we're doing next month. It's one of the something Blumhousey, right? It's another Blumhouse one. We'll figure it out.
Oh,
I'll let
I,
you.
I have no idea.
I think you
I
picked it, so whatever. Okay, we'll figure it
I
out.
did for Blood. Okay, I don't know. All right, I have no idea. They didn't think we were okay.
I'm sure we will anyway. Well, even if you didn't pick, whatever, we'll figure it out. Anyway, starting off this podcast, well, we are going to be talking about Black Christmas, the 2019 Blumhouse one, not the 1974, I think.
Four,
Four, and then the 2006. They
six,
should have made it in 2000 or 2018 because then they could have kept the whole like 4, 6, 8 thing going.
or they could have just not made it at all.
Jeez, you're so down on this movie, which I'm sure is going to be a
I
big
hate
thing
this
on it.
movie. I hate this fucking movie. Every element of this film should be brought to a container of like acid and just dropped in, so we never have to deal with this movie again. And then they can redo it again, call that the third remake, and hopefully do a better job to make it closer to the original and the first remake.
Yeah, and if you like, I read that somewhere that like this is the only one so far that Bob Clark hasn't had like a say in or whatever, and I bet Bob would not have been okay with this, you
No,
know.
because Bob Clark was on the set for the remake. He gave it its blessing. He was, but in the behind the scenes on the DVD, it shows him on set, and he was
Yeah,
perfectly fine with it. And he's perfectly fine with even saying that Halloween is a sequel. So
yeah,
it's that he has said that John Carpenter took the idea of Halloween from Black Christmas. That what if the killer was caught and put in an asylum, broke out, and then went to Haddonfield. And Carpenter's had no problem with it. He's had no problem with it. So it's got a legacy, and to fucking destroy it like this with this version is it's insulting. It's I have an entire rant. So I mean, if you want to go first with what you feel, I mean,
I mean, I don't hate this movie obviously nearly as much as you do. I don't it's my least favorite obviously of all the Black Christmases. In fact it would be one the first remake and then this, obviously in that order. But I I didn't hate on it like I get the anger. I get the stuff. Like I get how uh, but and my ideas when when I watched it again this time, I started noticing things like the fact that the idea that these women were man hating was brought up in the movie, and the one guy's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out of here. You guys are just being mean to like my gender and just attacking me and everything and stuff," and he left,
no,
and
he didn't left. He was thrown out.
well, yeah, he was thrown out. That's right. He was thrown out.
He
But
was so to give some context, they decide to go to the fraternity that is having like a Christmas I don't know, like show, like a
it's like not a
variety
talent
show.
show because there's no
No,
judges,
because
but
there
there
was
was
no
like,
prize. But yeah, it was like a
yeah,
variety show or something. So
yeah,
they go dressed in, basically that's the scene, is your picture, that's them there. And they go on stage, and our lead girl who's in the stripes, it's known that she was assaulted by one of
Riley.
the and it, Riley, and I don't want to say what she actually was because I don't want YouTube doing anything. So she was assaulted, and they do a Christmas song dressed all sexy like that rips apart that fraternity, which is like a 200-year legacy fraternity. And of course, the women in the audience like it, the men hate it, and they think everything that happens afterwards is from this fraternity, which some of it is. And so they're fighting. Our lead girl in it, Riley, just tells the ultimate feminist chick who I hate beyond belief. I fucking hate her.
I like the
And
actress. I like the girl who played her,
I
because I've
don't.
seen her in her other stuff and I've liked her. So, I mean, I don't.
I haven't seen her in anything, and I don't want to see her in anything. So tuck your head so people can see who she is.
Ugh.
So that's her. That's her there, and she is. It's so preachy and so and such a feminist nut job that her life surrounds herself with this crap, and it's that's the worst thing is that I understand that people have ideals and ideas and but when your entire life is focused on this entire thing, it becomes incredibly annoying.
Okay,
And Riley points that out to her, that
she
some people
does.
just want to live, that they like their lives, they're fine. And then the feminist, then says, oh, why? Because you just want to disappear. And they're arguing back and forth. And then the girl there that you can see that's next to Riley, her boyfriend, who is then he's possessed at that moment by the bust that is leaking the oil or blood or whatever it is
He's
from
blood.
it. And he comments, and it's the only time that the person is absolutely correct, is, what did you think would happen? If the guys went up and called you bimbos and like you just want to show your tits, and he tells them the truth. He actually tells them the truth, but he's under a possession that we can get into, when later, I guess.
Was
And
he? Was he under the
yeah,
possession? I never
because he
got that.
comes, well, and then so he tells them the truth. The black girl there, the feminist, gets really offended. The girlfriend goes, who are you? I don't know who you are, because he was just a normal guy. And then he tells them this, and he gets kicked out of the
So was
sorority.
he in the fraternity?
And it's a yes and no, because remember, the simp, very lightly skinned black guy who has a thing for Riley, at one point starts getting headaches. And he wasn't brought in to the fraternity yet, but the headaches, I guess, are part of that possession. So he gets kicked out for telling the truth, because of course they can't handle the truth. And he comes back later to apologize to the girl there and goes, I'm sorry, I had a really bad migraine. I wanted to apologize, which is him getting that headache, and immediately gets killed. So it's
Right.
like, so he gets kicked out for telling the truth. And then when he comes back to apologize and to defend his girlfriend, he gets killed. It's like, and
Well,
then,
that I had a problem with because like that was too quick of a thing, like him just attacking the guy and then just getting killed real quick. And it was just like, what was like, it's just, and especially when he's like, don't call don't call anybody, I'll handle this like a man and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that was no, no,
and
no.
that's I understand defending the person that you're with. You should, it doesn't
But you
matter if it's
still
male
call
or
the
female.
police.
But yeah, but all of a sudden he becomes that like macho, toxic male
But
thing. And
but I don't think he was because he was possessed. I don't think he was
not
possessed.
at that point. When he was telling them the truth, he was.
I so it comes and goes. I don't know. Like I don't.
He leaves, the headache goes away, and then he's like, oh fuck, man, I had this headache. I was really annoyed by their yelling was hurting my brain.
Right.
And so now I'm going to go back in and
Okay, I
apologize.
never got that from that. I just thought he
So
was.
I have sadly seen this film 3 times.
I've seen it
And
twice, I think.
I had originally seen it when it first came out because I read all these reviews and articles about how this is such a man-hating movie, which it is. And I watched the bootleg. I watched the cam copy of it. I ain't gonna pay for this thing. So I was curious. Hated it. Waited until it got onto streaming, found an HD copy, still not gonna pay for it, and rewatched it, and then saw things in it that I hated even more because now I'm getting like a good HD copy. And then I watched it again today, didn't pay for it because I'm not going to, and found even more shit. Like at the one, the girl who gets killed at the beginning serves no purpose to the plot. None. It is a boring PG-13 as the whole movie is edited, and you could tell it was R because
Actually, it wasn't.
it was rated R. Test screenings watched it and they cut it down to a PG-13
I
to appeal
read
to
that
a
Sophia
younger
wanted
female
it to be
audience.
PG-13 originally so that she could get a wider audience.
I completely disagree with that, and I don't think that's true. I think that's an excuse.
You
And
think the director is lying?
yeah, because I just watched 3 reviews that showed articles that the film was cut from an R rating to PG-13 to appeal to young female audiences, and you could tell in the movie, like when the black girl near the end goes to kill, was it Carrie Elways or however you say his fucking name?
Carrie Elwes,
He
yep.
whatever he and she goes, "Hey, suck my," and then it
And
cuts.
yeah,
You know, she said suck my dick, and I had the subtitles on, and it was suck my dot dot dot, and every single murder was edited, like the little odes to the original movie, which were there were only like 3 or 4. When the black girl goes upstairs and finds the girl who's supposed to be wrapped up in the Christmas lights, as she turns her right before we see anything, it cuts. It's a hard, awkward cut. Every violent scene is cut, and dialogue is cut. There's I'm guessing because, and if you watch the trailer, there's a bunch of stuff not in the movie. This film is completely hacked, and I heard that they basically shot, edited, got this thing all together, and it started in July, and they released it in like October. So this thing was a very quick production, and it's chopped to shit. You could tell there is so much explanation in this film that it's ridiculous. They have near the end where the 2 girls, the black girl and Riley, are in the truck, and they escaped. Riley explains the entire movie,
she
and
does.
then she goes back and summarizes what already happened up to that point. The film's only like 93 minutes. It's the worst written. It's horribly edited. It's poorly directed, and you could tell it was really fast. And I'll give 3 things I liked because I hated everything else. 1, I liked the music. 2, I like that it's a Christmas. And 3, I guess because they had to shoot it so fast, everything was in like a wide shot, and it was all done within that shot. And I like that. I like that type of filming. I don't like cut, 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 cut. And so I kind of like that, but I think that was out of necessity to just get the film done.
Right.
And oh my God, they rip off The Exorcist 3 horribly. Where there's the scene where the girl is looking, the Jewish girl, as she points out, is looking for the cat.
Right.
And it's a wide shot, and she goes from room to room. And as she leaves one room, it's even the shot from Exorcist 3. The camera goes in like that, and you see the killer come out with the Christmas lights and strangles her.
Right. So that
So
was
I
from
get
Exorcist. I haven't seen Exorcist 3 in so long.
it's a great it's a great film, and it's the most famous scene from the movie. And I understand that you want to pay, you know, like homage to it, but you got to do it better. Just don't rip it off completely. Don't I mean, it was shot for shot, and it was two shots. Well, one shot, but they closed in. So it's I have a couple things here. So this is my Black Christmas DVD, which has a great documentary on
The
it. It's
original.
audio. Yeah, this is the original. And then I got this. This is Scream Factory. So this is their Black Christmas Blu-ray. And then got the unrated Black Xmas.
Is that what
So
your next movie is going to be called? Black Xmas?
it should be. It
Mm-hmm.
could be. This I think is underrated. I didn't like it when I first saw it. I did like it. But to me, the best sorority slasher movie, which is very pro-female, because her boyfriend goes around killing everybody that she doesn't like, is Sorority Row.
Yeah.
So it's not a man-hating movie.
What about House on Sorority Row? Was that good? Like the original? The one that was a remake of, I think.
Yeah, this is a remake of that, incredibly loosely, like incredibly loosely.
Well, just
But I
like
like.
this one's a incredibly loosely remake because
I
it
don't even.
really, I don't even think it had anything to do with the original.
No, there's a couple. Oh, there's like the girl who gets wrapped up in the lights, but were
Right.
cut, so we don't even get to see the ode. There's the one scene where Riley is walking and her phone rings, and we kind of get that garbly goop static, and
Hmm.
we're thinking it's going to be like Billy, and it isn't. It just ends up being like one of the girl's mothers.
Yeah. Which I
Uh,
also thought that was fake too. Like I thought that maybe like they were doing some kind of voice thing to make it, and then the person was going to say something, and I was like, damn it, they missed an opportunity for a killer, scary scene, because it was no caller, or whatever. Like, so obviously which was weird because generally, even on cell phones, if something pops up, saying the number, it doesn't just say no caller ID, or whatever. So I
yeah,
just
mine will say like spam. Might it actually I think it says might be spam or just
Well,
spam, and
that's
there's a
more of a
number
new
below
thing,
it.
I think. I feel like that's becoming a new thing because I don't remember that back in like a few years ago. But yeah, it does say that, so like maybe spam. And then if you don't want somebody to know your number or whatever, it's still like um you have to you either have to get your number unannounced, whatever. And they should have explained that because I was like, why does it say no caller ID? Like I just
Well, she could have. I mean, I don't mind the no caller ID because they want to use TikTok and they can't, so they call it what yickety yak.
oh
So
no, yeah,
they want to do TikTok, but obviously they didn't get permission, so it's like yicky yak
yik
and
yak.
TikTok yik yak. Yeah, so they try to get something that was similar without being sued, but they could have when she answers the phone, it could be static, and then you just hear Billy, Billy, Billy. And she's like, what? And then the static clears up. And she goes, I'm trying to reach Billy. I'm you got the wrong number. Billy's not here. Oh, okay, sorry. And then she hangs up.
That's too, I don't know, that's too much of a
If
yeah.
they're gonna do the static thing, I mean, it is the girl's mom, and she was or grandmother, whoever it's supposed to be, and
Or
she
they could have
isn't
called
home
that one
yet.
girl Billy, one of the girls Billy,
Yeah, yeah.
because they were, if you notice that they were using names that could be boy and girl names, Riley, Marty, that kind of thing. They were doing that. So they could have used Billy, which would be Billie, like well, Billie Eilish and Billy what's Carrie
Well, Billie Eilish is a good example. So
yeah,
yeah, that's
there you
yeah.
go.
So it's yeah. I mean, I agree. They could do something like that,
Yeah.
and it's a movie that won't enter my collection, even though
I know you're a
I am a
completist, so that's gotta
completist.
hurt a little bit.
It's and I I'm still trying to get around that Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are now doing a Karate Kid. So
As long as Jaden Smith's not in it, I'm okay with it. You know,
I mean,
and
not to go off target, but technically, since Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith are playing two totally different characters.
wait, Jaden Smith is going to be in it?
No. I'm saying since they did play two totally different characters, it could be part of that world because it's Jaden Smith isn't Daniel. He's like
Uh,
Steve or something, and Jackie Chan isn't Mr. Miyagi. So I mean, technically, it could be in that world, but the producers and the creators and all that said it's not. But
but then Sony said yes, it is.
the Smith family are producers; they own the rights.
Yeah, but I
That's
don't
why
know
they're
why they
listed as
want to bring back
producers.
Jackie Chan unless people like were asking for him in some way or another, you know, because like nobody's because that movie was a bomb. So I don't, we can get into that when we do our Karate Kid thing we're doing,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's I guess just more about like a remake type of thing, or not really being necessary. But there's so much crap in this that's just like at the very beginning. One, I don't need to know what a diva cup is. I did look it up. Gross.
I did not.
And I did. And
I just saw what she did with it, and I was like, I don't need to look that up.
and I did need to see it. Couldn't she just throw it to her and
And
then
then
she
she leave the
leaves?
room. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And her shirt. So this is where now I'm watching it like really clearly. The shirt says, I don't, was it it's not mansplain, it's monologue. I don't need, no, monologue. Your monologue is boring, is what her shirt says. The girl who
I mean,
grabs the diva
this
cup.
was
And it is capital MAN, a log.
so okay. Here's the funny thing about all of this anyway, is first of all, us debating saying this stuff, this movie wasn't meant for us. This movie was not made for
which,
our generations.
which is what a lot of people, a lot of
This
women
movie was not
and
made for our
feminist
generations, and
guys
this
did
movie was
say.
not made for us as white males. It's just not. And I was surprised, honestly, and this is gonna sound bad, but I was like surprised that one dude was a white guy dating the one girl. I thought they would have had a person of color in there or somebody else diverse, and it wasn't. Or I thought he was gay at first. I didn't even think that was her boyfriend. He didn't like seem at
You know,
all
I
very.
forgot about that. When they go to get the Christmas tree, I thought maybe he was their gay friend.
I thought so too. And then they get into the argument, and I thought he was like, you know how they always had like the headmaster or whatever the person, whatever they're called in the sorority, where they're like the head person or whatever, like
Yeah,
the
I
leader.
forget what
I
it is.
thought they
Yeah.
had a gay house person, or whatever, and he was just there to make sure things got,
Oh, I just thought he was a
whatever.
gay friend till I
Yeah.
remembered that he was the boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, so then, when he so I would have been okay with that. But then he had that scene where he like, said you guys are man hating and you guys are doing this and how, and you're, and then he gets kicked out. That scene I think was very vital to the movie for what they're really trying to say. Now, this does become a problem um when even Sophia, the director, has said that she wanted to make a specific movie that was going to whatever, was going to put her point across and is going to be something that women could watch and feel safe watching, basically, feel comfortable like they've been heard in some way or another. But I feel like because it's a horror film and it's a slasher, that it didn't work with that because
Oh,
slashers are
absolutely not.
generally non-feminist type movies, except for you're right, Sorority Row, and there was another one. There was the Slumber
Well,
Party
I
one.
I don't know if I agree with that because I mean even somebody like like Ebert and Roper have talked about the how slasher films are woman hating, and I disagree, because you always have the final girl. You don't have a final man. You have a final
But
girl who is smarter, better, and outwits the killer. And at
that's
times the
true.
killer is a woman, just like Friday the 13th. So it's, and a lot of the times the man is killed worse than the woman is in these movies, because the man doesn't matter.
Right.
That we go to them to see the woman. So it's so I don't necessarily agree with that. And what are the characters in this movie? Okay, so we have a woman who was assaulted. That is her complete identity. We know nothing else about her. I'm going off of the girls in your picture.
Yeah.
Then the one has the
The
boyfriend
boyfriend.
who could be okay, but is Then you have the man hating feminist,
Well,
girl,
okay. First
and
of
then you
all,
have the dumbass
right.
who's there. So where are the people that we're supposed to like?
I wanna touch on the woman that you feel is the man-hating chick and everything. And I mean, she does come off pretty much like any guy that she was even rude to the fucking the guy you call the simp. She was really nasty to him, and he was doing nothing wrong except just trying to be nice to Riley. Like, he was
He's
interested
a
in Riley.
total simp to her. I mean,
I don't
a total simp.
I don't even like that term, by the way. I fucking hate it. So like let's try not to use it. I just don't like it. I think it's just not, I feel like just the same as I don't like the word woke these days. I just be like, even though it might be true and think whatever, I feel like both sides of everybody are saying the exact same thing, and sometimes just getting like it's getting mixed up. So
Well,
but
but he is.
I don't it's to me
It's just
it's
like it's like Shaggy on Velma was a complete simp to Velma. She could treat him like shit, and he would still do things for her. That's a simp. Now, granted, he wasn't treated like shit by Riley, but he kind of was by others.
well, he was nice. He was just a nice guy. I mean, I never thought of him as anything
Who
worse than that.
who
I liked him.
Riley at the end sends into the fraternity to basically die.
Right.
So she's walking down the street with the shovel for some reason, and I guess as a weapon. And then he sees her, or they see each other, and he's got flowers. And she's like, "Do you really want to help me?" So they break in. She sends them into the lion's
But I
den.
think he didn't like he, first of all, she was using him as a distraction. And secondly, those guys would
Bait.
not have attacked um another male. They were bonding with male. They in
No,
fact
but all the men that are in there, except for the ones that have knowledge of this bust with the goo coming out, a lot of those guys are just trying to get into the frat.
right.
So
So they're pledging.
they're pledging. They don't even know any of this. So like that one guy that Riley sees, he has no idea. And the black guy has no idea either. So she
Yep.
sends him in knowing what's going on because she already saw it. And then he gets the thing, and
And
the
he
and
becomes sort of for a
what
little
was the
bit, which
yeah, so
I didn't
she
like how
sends him
easily
in.
he changed or whatever, but I didn't like that.
Okay,
Um,
so but with that, that's another thing that's horrible. This is why I think this is just shit writing. So she destroys the bust. Not really. She just drops it on the ground, but okay.
she breaks it.
You see a shot of it, and only the base is broken. The head is still there. The shoulders are still there. It doesn't shatter or anything.
They should have
So
shattered it, but I don't know if they.
she should have. It should have like been a slow mo shot of it going. But so when she breaks it, and the sisters are running out, and like the black guy's running out and stuff, then you could hear guys go, "Where am I? What's happening?" They lock them into a building that's on fire. And at the very end, Riley smiles as they all burn to their deaths. And these are guys who had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
These are our heroes.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm gonna go back to the girl though, because that's what I was trying to talk about before I
Okay.
got into
Yeah, yeah.
everything.
Sorry.
But
Yeah.
she when we first like kind of see her, she's doing what is it? She's trying to get people to get the professor fired.
Right.
And I didn't like that he was getting fired because he said like he yelled at her or something once, over the fact that they do the classics at the school. Now, here's the big problem. The schools are right now like changing things and colleges and everything. There is a lot of they are going a little bit more uh diverse and a lot of other stuff like I mean and that's fine, whatever. I can't control colleges, nor do I care, because I don't go to college. So but these are the future leaders of America, or whatever is what, this kind of thing. So but she's trying to get this dude fired for yelling at her like once, and I'm like, he didn't even seem like that bad of a person until you find out he's part of, big part of the fraternity and
He
all this
doesn't
other
yell
stuff.
at anybody.
Yeah, he was very polite. He called on Riley, and Riley in the classroom, and Riley thought the poet was a man and it was a woman who did who said this stuff that she's, and he was trying to point out a fact that we're that there nobody is being taught the classics at all, and that's what his dream was, and then he's upset that this chick is trying to get him fired, by having petitions. And that's all she's doing all day is just going around collecting
That's her identity.
petitions. What?
That's her identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And she even
so,
says that one of the reasons why why aren't there any books, by women? Why aren't there any books about trans people? Why aren't there any books about gay people? Why aren't there any? Maybe give him a list. Do we know if she's even had a conversation with him to say, hey, I'm a a black woman who's an adult because they're in college. Oh no, your professor yelled at you, as I'm sure professors yell at men too for saying something stupid. I mean, I know I was when I was in college. I had my professor yell at me because I said something stupid. I didn't think before I spoke, and I was totally wrong. And so I don't mind the idea of colleges upgrading of their like changing the books or whatever it is to add in new authors. But you can't just say I'm going to add an author because that person is gay or that person is a woman or that person is trans. There has to be a reason, like a book is considered to be a classic and it happens to be written by a gay man,
right.
and then you add it to that because it's a classic. But these people want it just because it's written by a gay guy, just because it's written by a woman. It doesn't matter if it's shit. They
Yeah.
just want it added in because that's their whole agenda. That's the whole thing. That's so I don't know if I walked over when you weren't done yet. So I'm sorry.
Oh
You
no, I
were
mean, there was I mean, that was pretty much her big thing in the beginning was that. And then later when she wants to basically take down the frat or whatever, and she posts that video that gets like over 50,000 views or whatever, I'm like, good God. Well, I guess if you put hot chicks up, in that clothes, like people are gonna watch it regardless of whether or not like it's a if the point and that was what sort of I think they brought up too, is the point that like maybe dressing up like that and doing that stuff, and talking and trying to get that information out didn't really help the cause because like what 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 does it do really? Like it's not like that guy the other than piss everybody off, which is what that one dude said. The one guy that assaulted Riley had left. He was an alum, so he had come back I guess launch this war against the girls or something, or whatever. I kind of, what I wish? I wish there had been more of like a war, you know, kind
Well,
of
I
thing.
don't know if he came back for that. I mean, he came back and he was there for that like variety show. Oh no, he was there to get to like present an award or something.
But he also
He
was there with them when he pledged, had them all pledge and everything and stuff. Because remember, he came in
well,
and made her bow down and do all that
he
stuff.
came back for that. Yeah, once he realized everything was going on. The thing with the video wasn't necessarily the song. It was what the black girl said. What is her name? I don't want to just keep calling her black girl.
It's,
um, Chris. I think her name is Chris. When is it's what Chris says when they leave, and I forget exactly what it is, but she said something because Riley goes, "How could you put that video up? It has like 50,000 views." And Chris is like, "Well, yeah, that's the point, right?" And she goes, "No, did you watch all the video?" And she shows her the video, and it's what Chris says as they're leaving. That's not good. And that's sort of like, oh crap. Because it makes them look really bad.
yeah, yeah,
And that's where this writing, it's kind of like The Hunt, where it's I'm a little confused on where the agenda is. Because there's a documentary called The Family. I think it's Netflix. And it's a series. I think it's like 5 episodes, some 6 episodes, and it's a real thing. It's about these kind of they're not really fraternities, but they're like, and they're not secret societies, but it's basically it's the grooming of like the 1%ers. So these are the kids that go to these particular colleges to become like presidents, congressmen, judges, basically like elected, and it's a real thing. A guy went undercover and he went through this whole thing, and then he wrote an article about it. Then he wrote the book, The Family, and then they did the documentary. If you want to make a horror movie like this, that's about these rich white guys, because they were mostly white in the family, um, and how they are groomed because they're rich and become these conservative judges and congressmen and all that. That's do it as a black comedy. Do it as something where you can make fun of them. This just doesn't seem that way at all. And at certain points, it almost seems like this is a comedy because of the shit that was said. Like, what? It's like, so you're implying that all men are rapists, which the boyfriend points out. He goes, not all men do that. I
I
don't
don't
do
do that.
that.
Yeah, I remember him
And
saying I don't do that. I thought that was great. Like
yeah,
that.
and it's like, wait, is this what? Like, and then they get mad. It's just a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. It's like, I don't understand. I think their message completely failed. And I have a feeling that Jason Blum is a liberal because of stuff like The Purge. But I'd have to look that up. But it's and he probably okayed it under the idea that the film that they got probably isn't what they were expecting.
Well, so I talked to you before, and I think it might have been on the Hunt one or it was somewhere else. But Jason Jason Blum has said that anyone is welcome to make a movie of his, and like any political background, any, like he's not going to turn a conservative down, or whatever because they're conservative, as long as they make an entertaining movie. But he's also said this. He also said that he that they don't do movies just for the agenda. They do movies for entertainment, and if it has an agenda in it, like sprinkled in it, the entertainment goes first, just like kind of Bob Iger just said recently. And what's really funny about
Oh, I
that
don't trust anything
is,
that guy says.
right. Well, anyway, what it was so funny is that uh Jason Blum allowed this one. And this one is very agenda first, entertainment like second or third or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's the entertainment sort of like the scene I one of the scenes I really hated kind of annoyed me was the scene with the security guard going up and they come up to the security she comes up to the security guard and she's like, my friend's been missing and everything. Usually, I'm sorry, even if you're a bored security guard and it's Christmas break, you're gonna be a little bit nicer to a fucking person
Well,
telling
that's from
you,
the first movie.
is it?
Yeah, that when
I
they
haven't seen it in a while,
and
so
I did watch a little bit of a feminist video that praised this movie. And in the original film, it's Olivia Hussey. She goes in and talks to like the deputy that's there, and he just completely dismisses her.
so
And
you're saying
then
that this did keep to some of the stuff
some
then.
a little bit. So yeah, there's a few things. And then in the original, the boyfriend has to come in. If you remember the guy in the big furry jacket, I think he's like a hockey player, and he comes in and immediately, the deputy sits up like, "What can I do for you, sir?" Well, let's go look. And it takes the guy to get the attention of him as he completes. So I think that was meant to be the same because he does go with her, and there's nobody at the fraternity house.
Yeah.
But that is the thing. One, it's a security guard. These are basically people who can't become cops, and security guards are I don't know. Cars get broken into here at my apartment complex. There's always fights. We got security, and
Well,
shit still happens.
why did
But
the why did 911 call him up and tell him that there's a 911 call for the like no
oh, it was
911.
911.
Yeah, it was 911 called up and said, there's a attempted murder or something at the for
Oh my,
sorority house.
that is so confusing to me. That doesn't make sense. What you just said does not make sense. And I just thought about that because I was watching it with subtitles and I did see it said 911 and then the dialogue. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. So that's a good point. But another thing that confused the shit out of me, and I watched it twice, so a total of 3 times, is when he goes, "I'm on my way." It's a completely different sorority house. It's a
Yeah, so how many sorority houses do they have, I guess? I mean,
so we never get. And then when the girl, and then so the guy in the hood kills the cop. One of the girls in, or not the cop, but the security guy inside is one of the guys in the hood, and the girl is on top of him, like about to kill him or something, or maybe she just did. And there's 2 other girls there. I think only 1 or 2 we've seen before. And I'm like, wait, that just didn't happen. Did I miss something?
mm-hmm.
And I reversed it. Same thing. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Watched it again. And then I'm like, okay, I guess this is happening at all the sorority houses. And then when they get into Chris's car, they go, oh yeah, it's happening at X sorority and X sorority and X sorority. Why aren't we seeing that? I get this is low budget and was made in probably like a couple 2 or 3 weeks, but it's like you need to have something to show. Like you want to show the purge. You don't want to show one house. You show the purge,
Well,
and
the first movie was just one
it has
house.
one house, but you are seeing the purge.
Right.
You're seeing it. They show you shots of it happening.
Right.
So we needed to see something that Beta Kappa is happening. I don't know. I'll just make up names. Uzo Kappa is happening. Bryce Capita is happening. That all of these sororities are being attacked by these hooded guys, and they're all possessed or something. Like they don't know what they're doing, and we don't. That was so confusing to me. So I think a shitload of stuff was cut. I mean, it's just none of this stuff makes sense
Maybe it
at
was a
all.
2 hour long movie and they had to make an hour and a half, you know.
I think so because it seems like they cut a bunch of stuff and then they threw the 2 girls in the car, in the truck near the end, and that's when all of this story comes out and exposition
Yeah,
and
maybe they're like worried people are not going to be following along well enough.
yeah,
You
so
know,
we're gonna
kids are going
because
to be on their phone, you know, because that's what they think. Like, you know, by the way, I was just on my phone because I was trying to find goofs, you know, on IMDb. Maybe that would explain things, but it does not have any listed. So weird. Usually, most even Hollywood movies have goofs, you know,
well,
listed.
oh, and another good sorority film, as I'm sure there's probably a few, but I just don't know them. Another good one is Scream Queens, not the reality show, but
But the
the
TV
Ryan
show,
Murphy,
but the
yeah,
yeah,
with my love in it. So
Emma
Emma
Roberts.
Roberts, but that is a great example of there's three that I know, three sorority girl um horror films that have great dialogue with the girls. One of them is the remake of Black Christmas. I love the way they treat each other. Then Sorority Row, the remake of that is great. And then Scream Queens, the way that Emma Roberts talks to them is amazing. And that series is made by Ryan Murphy, who's gay. You have Jamie Lee Curtis making fun of stuff. She has a transgender kid, and it's like, okay, so it's like, I love this type of stuff when it's done right. It's not done right in this. It isn't. You could take that name Black Christmas and remove it and just put Sorority Massacre, and nobody would know it's a Black Christmas film. Nobody at
The
all.
the black goo that the fraternity brothers bleed is meant to represent literal toxic masculinity and how it affects men and changes them from humans into monsters. It was also used because they were not allowed to show red-colored blood in a PG-13 movie.
So all the blood is cut because you can see the girl has the meat cleaver, and that's
Yeah,
red, but we never see her get hit. And they even say in the movie, um, Riley goes, "This isn't blood. What is this?"
right.
So it's and you even have Carrie Elves. How do you say is it Carrie
Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elways? He
Dude,
even
no matter what, Princess Bride, like one of my favorite movies of all time.
oh,
So
it's a great
no
movie.
matter how if he's in a bad movie or not or whatever, I still love the dude. Like
Oh
he
no,
needed a
he's in
paycheck.
Saw and
He
I
needed
have
a
no
paycheck. I get it, you know.
well,
And
he's
he looked like he had fun, you know, playing the asshole professor at the end, you know, like
and I've said this before. It's always fun playing something you're not. So he made, maybe he agrees with this, with the filmmakers. Maybe that's why he took it on. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll play this evil guy. That's not who I am, and it's fun to play the
mm,
bad guy. But he does his expedition, his exposition dump, where he's like a James Bond villain when he has Riley there,
yeah.
and instead of just killing her, he tells the whole secret plan because once again nobody knows what's going on. Who knows me? And with that stuff, so it says in the newspaper students get the head removed of the founder of the college, and it gets moved to that
The
fraternity.
fraternity. Yeah.
So which has a lot to do with Chris. So it's not students, it's Chris. And also, if you notice with Chris, when she was
Well, I
standing
think
out,
she signed a petition, got a petition signed to get him removed.
and people sign stuff they don't know, because if you notice when she's standing outside of the professor's um classroom and she wants people to sign it to get him fired, the white guy passes by.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it from him, but
No.
she gets it from the black guy who comes out.
Because he has no idea what he's signing either. She never even tells him. He just,
Right, but it's why does it happen to be the white guy who doesn't sign the petition to get the white guy fired? Why is it the black guy that signs it to get the white guy? See, I'm looking at all this type of stuff, and it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I don't. I mean, just it's toxic masculinity, really. The goo is toxic masculinity.
but they never explained that either. You know, which would have been cool. Would have been cool in the exposition dump where, you know, they're like the toxic masculinity that we all have. Ah, the power.
Well, oh, okay. So I forgot where I was going with that for a sec. So they get the head removed. They put it inside the fraternity. Now, how long is this? If it's
Mhm.
been like 100 years, I could see them slowly realizing, hey, wait a minute, this goo does something. Let's get all of our pledges to do this. And then this way we can, attack these women. So throughout the years on colleges where there are assaults on women, that goo explains it. But it's only been like what, a month? Because
Mhm.
it's in the newspaper, so it has to be new. And he says when they were moving the bust to the fraternity, they found this goo. How do they know what this goo does? Like, it doesn't give it enough time. It should be in the newspaper, say something like 100-year anniversary or 50-year anniversary of the founder's bust being moved. And then over years they figure out what it does, not in like a month, because that stuff could be totally unsafe. What if they put it on their skin and they, and it was toxic, which I guess it is. It's toxic male stuff. But what if it was something that would actually kill them when they put it on their skin? So
Mhm.
that's not even right. Oh, and I love when Riley and Chris are in the truck, and Riley goes, "You didn't even believe me about what happened." And she has nothing to say because she is a complete poser. So
Well,
when she's in a group,
I mean,
she's
because
fine.
yeah, because like at one point she's like, "Let's go to the police," and then she's like, "No, let's go get that bust and destroy it and everything, and take back take back everything in the campus, from these people and everything." And she's like, you know, but she also makes a good point, like, if they went and told the cops that there's a sorority, like there's a fraternity going around killing everybody because, of a bus that is supernatural, like all that stuff would make them look crazy and nobody would believe them anyway, so might as well just go stop it ourselves. And
Well,
uh
yeah, and Chris is a coward. She is a poser because she doesn't want to go fight the guys to destroy the
well, she
bus. She
comes
wants
back, I mean, with a group of girls.
with a group. When
So she
she's in a
feels more
group,
powerful in the group, which
in
I
the
mean,
group,
isn't that the bond of sisterhood?
I guess so. But
I
I mean,
mean, I don't under
she
like
still doesn't believe her friend that she was assaulted. It's not like we heard her say, where I'm sorry, you're right, I should have believed you. If you're supposed to believe all women, wouldn't somebody as feminist as her instantly believe her without any shred of evidence? She would believe her, and apparently she didn't believe her,
yeah.
and
I
she's
don't
not
know.
going to go fight by herself. She's going to bring back a group of people because she's a poser and can only do these things in a group. The one thing I did like, this is another thing I'll say I like, they get thrown around. I hate movies when it's like a chick is like 105 pounds and you can see her arms are like this thin and they can kick the shit out of a guy who's like 300 pounds and like 6 feet tall. Completely unrealistic. In this, it was more realistic, even though it had that supernatural thing to it, that they would get their asses kicked
Right.
by a guy, so they would have to fight together. So it would be like two girls that have to take down one guy.
Yeah.
That to me makes sense, but I still think she's a poser.
I don't know. I Man, I didn't hate it nearly as much as you did. It's not something I really want to watch again, like
I'll never watch it again.
um uh, you say that and then somebody's gonna have you review it again next year. Not
Oh,
me.
oh, oh, oh. I mean, if somebody wanted me, hopefully I would remember it because I seem to, on my third viewing, notice even more stuff that I hate. You
So
know,
each time, each
yeah. So
year,
each time I notice something
even
different.
more,
There,
more hatred for this movie. I don't know. I
there just needs to be a point. Like, what is your point? I mean, it's they're I mean, we know what their point is, that men are evil, men suck, men are horrible, men are toxic. If we didn't have men, the planet would be better, because you're hit
But
over the
then we
head
wouldn't
with a
have women, we
sledgehammer.
hadn't have men, because until women, and I'm sure they are trying to find a way, but until women can impregnate themselves with other women, then
If
and
if there were no men, a woman scientist would find a way of artificial insemination and or insemination, and they would try to only have female babies.
that's what I'm saying. And what um I don't I honestly don't think all women are like that. There are, you
No, in
know,
the same way that all men aren't evil, all women aren't evil. There are evil women. There are women who have done evil things.
oh yeah. I would say names, but I'd probably get in trouble.
Well, I mean, you know, uh, uh, there is a thing where it's there is that flip side to abuse. Men have been abused. I have. I was abused for 2 years,
Yeah.
and so and I nicknamed her the evil one because
So
of all
you're
the
a
stuff that
simp.
happened. No, I was scared. I didn't do
Maybe this guy,
everything.
maybe that dude who you call a simp, maybe he's scared.
No, he's just a simp.
I don't know.
he
I think
he's
he,
he's just obsessed with her, and he wants to date her, and he says that he's a nerd and he's awkward and it takes him a while to get around to stuff, but it's there are better examples of a simp than him, like Velma is in Shaggy is a good example. But
You mean Shaggy and Velma. You said Velma
oh,
and
Velma, yeah, Shaggy and Velma,
yeah.
yeah. So it's or you might as well just say Mindy Kaling, but yeah, I mean he's still a little. It would have been.
By the way, I used to love Mindy. Used to love her to death, man. She
I
was
had a massive crush on her,
The
and I put up with.
Office, and
I
um
thought she was great on
she
The
was on 40 Year
Office.
Old Virgin. She was in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and one of the best little freaking scenes with Paul Rudd. Like, I love that, and it's sad to see what she did with Velma, but
Velma was awful, and then I started going, and then I
I didn't
watched.
even I didn't watch much of that. I couldn't. I was like,
Oh, I did, and I even watched the hate videos for it, and agreed with those. And then she did she produced it, but the secret sex lives of college girls, I thought was good.
yeah.
But
I
then I
think I don't.
started.
I don't know why she's doing did the Velma, because I don't know if that's the way that she's gonna be. The heck was that?
I it's I realized from watching videos about her that she seems to hate white men, but I believe she only dates and is married to a white guy. And it's very weird that, and of course in everything that she does, she has to do her own identity. So she has to insert herself into everything she does. And then also after watching Velma, I hated it. I don't like her anymore. It's like the way that she treated the Fred character was absolutely horrible.
Mm.
And basically she made him like a freaking Nazi.
No, whatever. Not really my thing. There was some group of people made like a fan pilot to a series that was like Scooby-Doo, you know? And but it was like, I don't know, it was just a really well done live action Scooby-Doo TV show, you know? And I was like, damn, why didn't they do this instead of that cartoon, Because it didn't have anything you know, any kind of message or propaganda or agenda to it. It just
I don't
was a
know.
fun little cute little show.
HBO's been very weird, with
Well,
like
HBO is
Euphoria,
weird because like
The Idol.
David Zaslav is not your he's not your typical like woke,
No, he's a Trump supporter. He gave to Trump.
right. So like why is he okaying these things?
But
Like
he canceled stuff too, like that show. I think it's called Generations, where it's gay, trans, and all of that. He canceled that. He dumped it.
I remember hearing that Velma was gonna get a second you know
It still might, from what I've read, is that it's already done. Is that they had a deal for 2 seasons, and that the second season it's finished. But who knows? I mean, if Zaslav is just going to dump Batgirl, which I actually want to see because I'm curious of why they would do that, um, then maybe they just won't release the second season of that.
Right.
I mean, it's tough. HBO, Warner, all of that stuff. DC is in a very weird state. So
Yeah. I
it's
have a feeling once 2025 rolls around or whatever, when they start doing the stuff, putting the stuff out for DC, it'll get better, you know. Like I think we just need a break, you know, from that shit.
I have no faith in James Gunn at all. So it's he did say that he loved The Flash. That was one of the greatest movies ever
He
made.
had to.
I
They
don't
really
care.
tried to make their money back on that movie, man.
Of course, so did Tom Cruise. So what can I say? He also said it was one of the greatest movies ever made.
What? The Flash?
Yeah.
Phew, Jesus.
Jaden Smith even said it was one of the greatest movies ever made. They had like
Well,
these screenings for.
nobody listens to Jaden. Um, you
I
know.
just wish that they, at some point, now we'll bring up because I like to do this is budget to what the film made. You look at some of these movies these days, like Bros, that was a massive bomb. Even gay people didn't go see it. I have two gay friends who hated. They walked out of it, and they said there was an insult to gay people, and nobody went to go see this film. But of course, the creator of Bros blamed straight people, even though in the trailer they criticize straight people. Um, you know, and so and it tanked. And then but you have something like Black Christmas here, and this is where Jason Blum is a friggin' genius. You make a movie for 5 million and it ends up making 18.5.
And I think a lot of that were the feminist chicks going out because they had a movie to watch, you know?
Yeah, and that's a hit. So like I argued with somebody, I think it was just yesterday, about Godzilla, and with a $15 million budget and what they did with it. And they're like, well, no, Godzilla didn't make a lot of money. It only made X amount of money.
I think it made
And
30
it's like,
million.
yeah, and it's like, okay, but the film cost 15. It doesn't matter. You look at what the film was made for. That then
So it
makes it a
made a
hit.
profit, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you have a film like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a hit, is millions of dollars to make, and you can't compare that to Godzilla minus one that has a $15 million budget. Both films are hits, just their budgets are different. So you can't compare the two, really. You have to compare it to other films that have that budget. So you could say the Marvels compared to Guardians of the Galaxy was a bomb, while Guardians was a hit. But
Right.
another film that was made for 15 million or around there, that you could compare to Godzilla. And Godzilla is a hit. And because of that $15 million budget.
So yeah, so this made for five, made triple, a little over triple, almost quadruple the amount. And so good for them.
Yeah,
Good
and,
for
and
Blumhouse.
I mean, it's interesting that this made that much money. Of course, I'd have to look at once again, I'd have to look at the numbers. When you have something like, the Marvels that bombs aimed at a female audience, because I know this film wasn't made for me, a white male.
Yeah, it's funny because
I understand that.
I think it was Brie Larson or somebody like that who was actually going around saying like one of the movies that she was made that she was in was getting attacked by white critics and it wasn't made. Wrinkle in Time. Wrinkle
Oh
in
no,
Time was
yeah,
getting attacked.
she was using that as an example for as of a 30-year-old white critics shouldn't
Yeah.
be reviewing A Wrinkle in Time because it's not aimed at them. It should be like a young black woman reviewing it.
Well,
And she
no,
got a
but I
lot of
mean,
shit for that.
and I think it's kind of a silly thing because like, you know, those black critics could review it as well. There are black critics out there, could review it as well. And if the white people who reviewed it just didn't like it and it wasn't for them, they still watched it. They still have they still have the opportunity to share their point of view just the same as we do. But honestly, for me, I agree, sort of like this movie was not meant for me. This was not a movie that I was, it was designed for. However, um, I didn't hate it as much as you. I didn't think it was. I don't I thought, yeah, it's got a lot of it puts the agenda way too in the forefront, especially that one character, Chris. She's just way too much into that, and like it becomes a little bit too in your face. And this becomes the problem with, Disney and Marvel and a lot of that stuff too. Sometimes they just do that, but then people are like, there's some people that are just all upset, like, people are saying that these things are, putting the agendas too much up in the front, and they're not. And, people are just, being very conservative or very, this or whatever. And I'm
Excuse me.
like, can can we just agree that yes, they do this? Bob Iger has just admitted on TV, in interviews recently, that yes, they've been doing this too much, and they are sort of, they say they're learning from it. Don't know. You
But
think he's not going to?
what is there to learn from? You had a year of bombs. You should have learned this from what people were talking about. Critics, non-critics, fans that are no longer fans. I mean,
Well,
how
that's
long
when
does
it's
it
when they
take?
start losing money every single time, and the Marvels was the the and I haven't seen the Marvels, so I can't say
I
anything.
did, so
And
I can.
but I like, I don't know. It doesn't look like a movie
when
that
when
I.
when your film has is the lowest grossing movie of the entire Marvel like MCU franchise, and it's considered to be the biggest bomb in like film history, and it's considered to have the biggest drop off in film history, there's a problem there. There's something, and it shouldn't have to take you the all these movies to figure that problem out. They've already done like polls and stuff in percentages, where all these filmmakers, like Elizabeth Banks and stuff, are like, well, men just don't want to go see Charlie's Angels. Actually, if you look it up, more men went to go see Charlie's Angels than women did. They did a percentage for, I think it was that first weekend of the Marvels. More men went to go see the Marvels than women did. So I don't know who went to go see this version of Black Christmas. I mean, somebody did, but a lot of these movies that have this agenda, women are not going to see unless it's called Barbie.
Even then, like, I don't even know if they wanted to see it because of the agenda. They just wanted to see Barbie originally.
I think it was Barbara Heim, Barbie Heimer. I think was the whole thing. I think it was a brilliant, whoever figured that out deserves a raise. Whoever decided to make the poster with both of them on it and stick to two names, because they're from two totally different companies, and put it all together and make it, the woman can go see Barbie, the guy can go see Oppenheimer, and then the guy will go, okay, fine, if I'm seeing Barbie, then you got to go see Oppenheimer. And both films to make a lot of money. It's a gimmick. It worked, and it probably would not work again. But I think that's why Barbie made so much money, is because it was part of this gimmick. That it just it worked, and I don't think Oppenheimer would have made that much money either if it wasn't part of this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Especially because, I mean, I hate to say it, but Christopher Nolan is a niche director kind of thing. Like, people know him for his sort of the stuff he does for his films, and everything, the style and whatnot. But he is not a Barbie, like he's not that big. He's not a franchiser. He doesn't like to do franchises. He did
Well, Batman
Batman.
shows that the third Batman was awful.
Yeah, but he did Batman, but he did a Batman because his money, and stuff. And he did the first two Batman I loved, The third one was
I he's a visually, I think, a good director, but I think story wise, he's not that great. There are so many flaws in The Dark Knight, which I love. I think it's one of the best superhero films made. But there are so many flaws that it's just like, okay, so Joker blows up a hospital, hops onto the bus from the back. He has all of his makeup on, and he's wearing a nurse suit with
Hmm.
it's like a dress. Nobody on the bus notices this. Nobody. Nobody's going, hey, who's that guy? He looks like the Joker that's been on TV. It's stuff like that doesn't make sense. The bank at the very beginning where the school bus crashes into it, and then as he's leaving, it reverses out and follows a series of school buses. Nobody's going to report that a school bus crashed into a bank, and the school buses are just going to allow the bus to pull out and just follow with it.
No.
Visually, it's cool looking, but it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. It's I think his earlier stuff is better. Insomnia I like, The Following I liked. I like his earlier stuff. Things
Memento.
like, which one?
Memento.
Memento was good.
The Fresh Maker.
Um yes it is. I mean, even Interstellar has massive flaws. Why would they go down to a water planet and be surprised that it has water and
I love
waves?
Dunkirk. Dunkirk was
I've
amazing.
never seen Dunkirk,
Oh,
actually.
you should see it. It's really good. I think
So
I'm not into war movies, you know that. And I
yeah.
thought, oh shit, this was pretty cool. So I was into it.
Yeah.
I like that, and
I've heard it's good.
I like the other one, 1917. Where it's like all done in like one take kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that either, but I've heard both are good, so I probably
Yeah.
should. So yeah.
I like Nolan. I gotta Paul and I are gonna watch Oppenheimer at some point. We just haven't got around to it and whatnot. Maybe we'll review it at some point or something. But where I mean, it is what it is.
It's a movie about a toxic male who creates a bomb and then it blows people up.
Yep. There you go. Well, I'm sure there was some agenda against it, even though
Oh, there
it,
were people were mad about that, like how his wife is portrayed and stuff. Even Napoleon got attacked that, which did better than like Hunger Games and Marvels and all that. It still didn't do as well as they were hoping, but it did better than all of those. But of course, feminists and stuff sat there and said that Napoleon's a toxic male, and we
well,
shouldn't be
like,
seeing.
yeah,
So maybe if they made him like a black gay lesbian woman,
but he wasn't.
maybe people would, maybe they would be okay with that.
No. It's just, that's weird now because like you can't it's history, yeah, fucking uh Napoleon was a toxic white male, yeah, or whatever. Like he was a fucking villain. He was not somebody who was this hero or anything, he was a conqueror, you know? Like my favorite Napoleon version was in the Terry Gilliam film. You know what I'm talking about, the one where they go in the past and stuff.
Oh, like Time Bandits.
Time Bandits. Napoleon's this short little guy that's just like watching everybody do puppets and stuff, and he's laughing the whole time and everything. He's just a jokey character, That's the best
What about Bill and Ted?
and that was a good one. Yeah, he was
They go
funny
back
because
and get Napoleon.
he wanted ice cream or something, if I remember correctly. He
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
go to the
yeah.
mall
There's
and
that
get
ice
ice
cream in
cream.
there.
So I thought that was funny, but yeah, I don't know. Will I watch Napoleon? Fuck yeah, I'll probably buy it at some point on 4K because fucking Ridley Scott knows how to make a fucking movie.
Oh, visually
Um,
be correct. I've heard it's very historically incorrect. Like Napoleon was never
visually is
at.
what I care about. I don't care
Yeah, I mean
because I
Napoleon was
don't,
never at Waterloo. He wasn't.
to me, these are films are all fiction, even though they're nonfiction. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you have to. I just wish people would like. I asked somebody this is when that Cleopatra show came out that Jada Pinkett Smith did, and they had Cleopatra as being black, and they're trying to convince everybody that Cleopatra is black. And I asked a friend of mine because out of curiosity, because he says that he's a feminist. Is I said, well, what color do you think Cleopatra is? And he goes, oh, she's black. And I went, really? Because Netflix told you so? I mean, she's Macedonian Greek. She's white. She might be a little more tan, but she's not black. What are you talking about? So these shows are not good, like, or movies. People need to realize that these are fictionalized versions, just like Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, is not what happened to Bruce Lee. It's what Ed Wood. You and I love the Ed Wood
Yeah, I
movies.
was actually going to
It's
mention
not.
Ed Wood. It's not
It's not
exactly
what
what
happened
happened
to
to
him.
Ed Wood, no. They touch on some things that were true, but they like the whole him coming over to see Bella and all that other shit. That was not true. That was not real. That wasn't because Bella had
Because
a wife at the time that they
yeah,
never
he was
showed,
married.
and yeah, and other things that they just I don't know why they didn't tackle that stuff. That would have been interesting, but they just decided that they wanted to make Bella be the center of attention and not him
Yeah,
and have a wife,
and
and
Ed Wood doesn't sound like that at all because there are recordings of Ed Wood where he just sounds like a normal person.
right.
So I think as long as you take these things with a grain of salt and say, yes, I know that this. I watched the show Julia on HBO, Julia Child, and her producer, um this is the 70s, is black. And but in real life there were several producers, but they focused on two. They were both white.
I mean,
Because at that, and so when they asked the actress, would you like to do this, she goes, well, as long as I'm not like a black token, I'll do it, if it has like a real character. But historically it's completely wrong. A black woman back then would not be a producer on a TV show unless it dealt with, like black TV shows, black talk shows. It was
I,
very separated.
I will say that Tarantino tends to do this well, like with Django, where he changes history, the slave that actually got to go, kill his master, kind of thing. I love that, like I absolutely I adore what he's doing, but he's not changing the colors of anybody, or whatever. He's just changing the facts of what would have happened,
Well, and
back
people
then.
don't understand that with Tarantino and like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the reason why and it is an alternate reality, Brad Pitt could beat up Bruce Lee is to show that he could kick the ass of Manson's people when they come into his house.
Right.
That was the whole thing. It wasn't to insult Bruce Lee, as his family has said.
But it
It's
was
not.
more fun. Like it was more
Yeah,
enjoyable to see
it's
him.
like if he can beat up Bruce Lee, he can beat up anybody. And that was the idea: is these people come into his house and he can just kick their fucking ass. And but yet people look at it as, oh no, that's racist. That's a white guy's beating him up, and oh my god, that's an insult. It's like, it's not. You don't get the point.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, man. I don't know. All this stuff, to take it back to Black Christmas. It's
Go back to White and Black Christmas, the movie we're watching or
yeah.
reviewing.
It's just, I think movies shouldn't just be for one person. And I know like action films and stuff are mostly made for men, and like, I don't know, romantic comedies are made for women. But I like some romantic comedies. I've shown you that box set I have that has like four, really good romantic comedies, like Love Actually, and About a Boy, and Notting Hill is on there. I like that type of stuff. So you should be able to, if you're a woman or a man or whatever, you should be able to, non-binary. I mean, I'll throw that in there not to get in trouble. You should be able to like what you're watching. It shouldn't just be aimed at one. I mean, I guess if Teletubbies is aimed at children, so I mean, I guess an adult wouldn't like it, but
Well, I mean,
you know,
some adults I mean, I was watching Elmo earlier with my little nephew, and stuff, and it's not something I would normally watch on my own, but I was like, I put it on for him to be entertained, and he loved it. He thought it was hilarious, because
well,
didn't understand what Elmo was doing, but he thought it was funny.
yeah, the bright colors and the arms kind of moving around. It's like, I remember a long time ago when Disney was actually a good company with stuff like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and stuff.
As the cartoons, yeah, before they went to
Yeah,
live action.
yeah, yeah, before all that crap, that they whoever was running the company at the time said that they're aimed at kids, but we know adults have to watch them too with their kids.
I think that was Michael Eisner.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And so they purposely went out of their way to make, yes, it's a kids movie, but adults can watch it too. So there's always like those adult references that little kids wouldn't get, and that made it tolerable for a dad or a mom or whatever to go into a theater with their kids and sit there and watch The Little Mermaid. So that, to me, this Black Christmas thing with, how dare you review it or even like it, or not like it or whatever it
Mm.
is, it's only made for women and feminist women at that. Well, fuck you, you know.
No,
So
I mean, look, when you do something like that, you're pretty much cutting off um some audience. And that's, dude, if that's what you want to do, to me, I'm like whatever, you know. Um I would love for um the poster to have said Black Christmas and then have like a sign that says toxic males not allowed in, you know? Like go all out, man, with the marketing. Make it so much so that white dudes will not want to even watch this movie.
well,
Um,
they didn't hide it in the trailer. If you watch the trailer, it's very much a
they
man-hating trailer.
they
I
got
mean,
a lot of
you know
flack for that. I
exactly
read on
what
the
you're going into.
IMDb that that trailer made like almost like, and look, that's I think that's what they wanted. So they succeeded and they made a movie that you're gonna hate, you know. And but the beautiful thing about Blumhouse is that they've made so many other movies and they're gonna continue to make so many other movies that you're gonna like, like they're not all of their stuff's not this, this is just one movie that by the way, the director originally came in to pitch I Spit on Your Grave. That would have been an interesting remake
Oh God.
with Blumhouse. Like that would have been definitely a feminist thing, and I don't know. It wouldn't. I don't know. It couldn't be PG-13. There's just no way anytime you could do I Spit
No,
on Your
because
Grave
then it came
PG-13.
out unrated when it came out on like DVD and Blu-ray. There's that unrated version, but that I even have. I like the original, but
I don't think I've
I
ever actually fully watched the original. I think it's too harsh for me, man. I just don't.
it
It just
it
doesn't. Ugh.
for some reason, like, if it's a vigilante movie about a man, Death Wish, it's normally his wife or daughter get murdered, and then or like a son, and then he goes out for
Take it.
revenge. In these movies, if it's a woman who's doing revenge, it's normally because she's raped and left for dead. So I don't know. I mean, you could do a movie maybe where a woman's husband and son are killed. They think she's dead without assault, without raping her, and then she comes back for revenge.
You're giving
I mean,
Blumhouse ideas right now.
I know.
They're watching and they're
Copyright,
saying they're agreeing with
There's
us
my
that
little
this movie
C
was
for
not made
copyright.
for us two white men from our generations, especially because I'm a millennial. You're a fucking Gen X,
Gen X
so
man.
we are not the target audience. Paul is not the target audience.
No,
Um,
but you still could do, like I said, something like The Family. If you want to make Black Christmas and have it do nothing to do with the other movies, and you wanted to just show that 1% rich male kids that grow up in this, they get to be the judges and the congressmen, and they're on this campus, and for hundreds of years, they've been doing these things to women. You could aim it at both,
right.
because my apartment complex that I'm in is, it's primarily Black, then it goes Hispanic, and then everybody else, probably white, then everybody else. We're all in the same boat. We wouldn't be living here if we were rich. We probably all make roughly the same amount of money. So when I see people fighting, I'm like, God, we're all in the same thing, dude. Like, why? I just don't get this. And so to make a movie like Black Christmas and just have it just towards hatred of men, instead of maybe having men agree with it, you just want men to disagree with it.
Would you ever if you could, would you ever interview the director?
If she would be willing to have me in the same way that I wanted to interview somebody who liked Barbie when I didn't, as long as she was okay with me doing what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because I would be
remember you asked
curious
somebody that to review the Barbie
who was
that
the
loved
Barbie
it, and
fanatic.
then
Yeah.
Barbie simp pretty much,
Yeah, yeah, totally. And
and
he said,
then
well, if you're going to
he said
criticize it, no.
no to it, and then
He's like, only if you're going to praise it. I'm like, no, that's the idea of the debate.
yeah, I mean, I get that, but yeah,
But I mean, anybody that has seen
but
my
what if she could change her mind? What if like what
that's
she
the idea
had
of
in
the
her
debate.
mind and everything, she could say something, and you'd be like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
You made me look differently at the hunt.
Right. I did not
I
make you look differently at this one because even I couldn't really justify a lot of this, like I can't, I can't because it's just too mean-spirited, you know, and to me that's not fun and entertaining, like Riley is supposed to be our likable character and everything, and really she is so plain and boring. Um,
they're just boring. They're just dull. They just feel sorry for themselves. It's there's nothing inspirational. You
mm,
know, the Chris who it's all about getting people fired and you're toxic and instead of maybe doing something on the school to be positive for women, it's all like negative.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like so many people are scared to like have a real debate about this stuff because, you know, it it's it's shit that's
I
just going on in Hollywood like that nobody's really allowed to talk about,
you
Like,
can't because like the new Doctor Who, the 50th anniversary of it is nobody 50th or 70. It's one of the two. They have their new episodes out with David Tennant, and the
mm,
first episode has gotten such bad reviews, and everybody is blasting on it except for the woke feminist pro all this type of stuff. And I put on Facebook rip #rip Doctor Who. Now I've watched Doctor Who since the fourth Doctor. I have been a dedicated Doctor Who fan through its good and bad. I have stayed with Doctor Who since it was on PBS. I've gone to Doctor Who conventions and met the people. I've dressed up. I am a loyal Doctor Who fan. And the minute they brought in Jodie Whittaker, it went straight downhill because then it all became about agendas. And now with them destroying David Tennant, they got the trans character on there who does serves no purpose except to be trans. And they talk about pronouns and diversity, and it's like this sucks. This is awful. This is not Doctor Who. So I did the #rip Doctor Who. I got shit for it.
mm,
Anti-trans. No, I'm not anti-trans. I would like a good story with a trans person in it. I don't want a story that just has a trans person. I don't want a story that just has a gay person or just a woman where it's a checklist. Give me a good Peter Capilleri, I think is how you say his last name, the doctor before Jodie Whittaker. There was a trans woman that was his companion, but she didn't play a trans person. That was never an issue with anybody because it wasn't a focus of the episodes. She just played a character. And they don't do that anymore. Now it's all about, you know, it's we need a black person, we need a trans person, we need a woman. Okay, good. Now let's write our story. And that's what it
I
kind of
sort of
felt like
agree. I
with
think like, I think the agendas are becoming the biggest problem in our without like we really do need to get back to telling an entertaining story, you know, first. And then if you can, like you said, if like, you have a character that was, trans and they are there, but it was never a big deal because they just do where they were who they were, right? You know, and everything like that. That's great. But then once they start telling you You need to do this, you need to do that. You can't say this, you can't say. I hated that. I was told before I went, or when I went to Hollywood, that I'm not allowed to say this. I was not allowed to call somebody a woman, you know? And I said, "What?
That's
I
brought up
can't."
in here, in there. That one of the girls, one of the friends there says girl, and Chris goes woman.
But I'm not allowed to say it as a white male. I'm not allowed, apparently. Like, there's things like that. There were some certain words and phrases that I'm not allowed to call people and do things and whatnot. And I was just like, I just want to live in a world where I'm not being criticized for everything I say or do. And but it's the world we live in right now. It's just it I just want to be like Riley was, where she was just like trying to hide in the background. You know, I kind of feel like now I'm actually feeling more like Riley. Like I get her. I get her character. I mean I loved her. I can't say her name worth spit.
I
Imogen.
think
I don't.
Emojin is like Poot.
I kind of feel bad, but Poots is the last name. That sounds
Some,
terrible.
yeah, she's
Sorry.
got an interesting name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I like her. Like I liked her in the movie. I thought she was at least she was likable enough most of the time where I could follow her around. Like literally if they made it all about the Chris girl, done. Would not I
oh my
probably would have
god.
turned the movie off. If it were she were the lead and it was all about her, I would have been like, can't see this. And I think it was very smart for them to sort of make the girl who was sort of, I don't know, she wasn't a snowflake or whatever you call a snowflake, but she was she just was sort of, she wanted to be invisible. She didn't want to do anything. And that girl kind of forced her into that song. Um,
Yeah.
and everything. She didn't even feel comfortable doing it originally, and then she eventually did it, and everybody was so impressed that she was actually okay with saying all that shit. Um, but and then even then she kind of took that back afterwards and was like, okay, this is not good. Like I shouldn't have done that, which I kind of agree. So I don't know. I liked her a lot, but I'm glad they made her the main character because I could at least there was somebody I sort of as a person could identify with in a way, could identify with her more than anything.
Well, she seemed more normal because she worked at like a coffee shop. She didn't want to deal with the politics, even with what happened to her.
She didn't
It's
even
just
like
like
want to sign the petition or anything. She didn't
none
want
of Chris's
any of
friends
this.
wanted to. The long haired one that's there in your picture, she didn't even want to sign it. And it was that the only way that Chris would have the snickerdoodle with her at the coffee shop is if she signed it. None
Ugh,
of them wanted to sign it
that
because
sucks.
probably none of them really cared. I used to have, when I was in high school, I had a teacher who hucked erasers at us. Like if people were talking or dozed off or whatever, he would throw erasers. And those things, it's not like they were
It
made out
hurt.
of cotton. Yeah, if that edge hit you, it hurt. And the thing is, I never went crying home. I never went to the principal. It's just like fuck, okay, whatever.
You
But
never you
now it's
never
like
got a petition to get that guy kicked out of your class because he threw the erasers at you?
no, never did because it's
Neither
just
did I. I had a teacher I hated, absolutely hated to death. I dreaded each day going to the classroom and stuff, and I never once tried to get him fired or tried to, because like see, I mean, I hate to say it, but like when people are petitioning to get somebody fired, you're literally right now trying to get somebody to lose their job so they lose money they can't afford, like whatever. Whether or not who they are, unless they are, if they had, that's the big thing too, is they should have made Carrie Elwes more evil before he became part of that group or whatever. They should have made him just this nasty person that was like full of the male toxicity or
But
whatever.
that was the twist. The twist
What was the twist?
that when he turns around, it's him, at the end when they're, in that room with the bust and everything.
Yeah.
And then he
I,
does his big Bond speech. I just find it funny with stuff like this. Like, so you're on an even like small level. I mean, if I make a customer mad and they go, "Oh, I'm going to try to get you fired," really? You're going to try to take away my job because I wouldn't take off a late fee. And so you're going to try to get me fired, which then means I can't get unemployment, which then means I might lose my apartment, which then means, I could be homeless, and all over a late fee. Like, I hate when people say, I'm going to try to get you fired. And that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to get this guy who may even have tenure, and she's an adult in college. So you're upset that she doesn't. And we don't know what books are being, it's not like he went off a syllabus and these are the books and all of them were white people. How do we know that there isn't a black author or a woman author? How do we know they're not going to read The Color Purple?
they could read
Y-
Frankenstein. That was made by a woman, Mary
yeah,
Shelley.
Mary Shelley.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so
why?
yeah, so there you go, and that has and you could say that was that Dr. Frankenstein is a toxic male because he made a monster. He made a horrible male monster that went around killing people.
Hmm.
You could use, have an allegory for that. So
And
it's
that could be something
I
taught in classes today that people would have hopefully would love because it's a woman writing about a toxic male. So there you go. You can make a
yeah,
whole write a whole paper on that.
yeah,
Um,
and then she could even Chris, hey, how about having your own book club? You're in college, put something up. Hey, people interested in reading books about female writers or black writers or gay. Hey,
LGBTQ,
yeah,
everybody.
let's meet in the library at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, and then we'll discuss which books to read instead of trying to get some guy fired because
Yeah.
he doesn't like that they're reading 1984.
Or Pride and Prejudice or whatever, which I
Yes,
think was written by a female. So I don't know, maybe right? Wasn't Pride and Prejudice?
I
It feels like
think, yeah,
Little
I think
Women.
so.
Little Women's got to be written by a woman.
We should look these things up before
Yeah,
people
before we say these things. I
before
don't know.
people
That would be bad if they're all written by men. I don't know. But
I think Little Women I think Little Women is written by a woman because Winona Ryder is like a massive fan of that.
let's see. Little Women. Let's look this up real quick. Little Women. Um, yeah, you're right. She should have wrote a list of people who or like of novels or whatever written by classics written by yeah, Louisa May Alcott wrote it.
Yeah,
So a female. Was the other one Pride and Prejudice, I think was
yeah, not with
Jane Austen.
zombies. Yeah, God, how do we
Jane
not know that's Jane
Austen.
Austen?
Though she did Jane Austen's Mafia.
A film I worked on. Yeah, I
Did
was a
you?
PA on that.
That's
Yeah, I was a
awesome.
PA. Yeah,
Did you get to see Jim Abrams up close and personal?
to be honest, I don't know. It was at the Ambassador Hotel where RFK was assassinated. Is where they were
Oh,
filming some of it at the same time as Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And
nice.
I would go from the studio, which was called Stargate Films in Burbank, and I would drive the new script pages, from the writers at the Ambassador Hotel to Stargate. So
Oh,
but I don't. It was three people in there. I think might have been three guys. I'm not sure. It might have been two guys and one woman. So maybe it was the main writers, but I'm not sure. I never got their names. They would just hand me the pages, and I'd like quickly get back. So
you got to meet Pat Proft then, most likely.
it's very possible, and I just didn't know it. I did try to find the kitchen that RFK was assassinated in, but I couldn't locate it. So
Pat
it might have
Proft
been
is one
closed
of
up.
my favorite like writers, period. He wrote a lot of The Naked Gun and he wrote like I think he wrote, if I'm correct, Police Academy. but like something like that, he did those kind of
Yeah,
movies.
Airplane. Yeah,
Air,
yeah.
he didn't do Airplane. Jim Abrams did that though, but yeah,
Was he like a producer and one of the writers?
I don't think so. No. Um, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He was one of the writers of like the newer scary movies and stuff when they started kind of going a little bad, you know. Like I love him to death, but he was doing the same shit they were doing years ago, and then it just wasn't working. Yeah, he wrote originally he created Airplane or not Airplane, Police Academy. He did
Yeah,
not
that's
do
must be.
Airplane.
Yeah, that's Abrams and then the Zucker
No,
brothers.
no,
Yeah.
no. I'm talking about Pat Proft.
Oh no,
Um,
no, I'm saying Airplane is Abrams and the Zucker brothers. Yeah,
yeah,
not Pat Profit. Yeah.
yeah. But Pat Proft ended up working with the Zucker brothers on Naked Gun, and on the TV show. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing I'm probably going to bring up on mainstream, uh, the mainstream, the new show I'm going to be doing, which John is going to be the first episode out when we do Karate Kid.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Um, I guess that's about it. Do you want to do a rating out of five
Uh,
stars?
1 out of 5, I give 0.
You can't give zero. You gotta
I'm
give.
giving it 0. I don't care. I'm giving it 0.
All
We're
right.
not putting this on the stinkometer. We're not adding this to any list. I'm giving it 0. I don't. Okay, no, I'll be fair. I'll give it 1 because I did like it's Christmas. I did like the music. I like that there were the wide shots, obviously, because they didn't have time to do close ups and medium shots. So there are like 3 or 4 things I did like.
I
So I'll
liked a
give it a
couple of
1.
cool things too. I'll give it 2 stars. I liked it a little bit more than you did, but my thing I liked the scene where the first girl that you said had no reason to be murdered or whatever. She had nothing to do with anything that was
She just
going
gets
on or
forgotten.
whatever. But I like that she died with being a snow angel. That was kind of cute, you know.
As I'm sure that has something, oh, look, she's an angel and a man kills her. It has to have something like that.
I know it didn't
I don't
bother
think
me,
they
but
were
I thought it
that
was cute. I thought
creative.
it was funny because like he pulls her away, and you can see the outline of an angel, the snow angel. I like the setting. I like the college that they shot at. I thought that looked cool. Some of those shots in the college were pretty neat. And yeah, the only problem with that was like the dorms, the sorority houses both looked very similar or something, and I couldn't tell what sorority house or what was going on or
I thought that was so
whatever.
weird that we just saw these girls who kind of look similar, uh, um, with that just kind of came in, disappeared, and it's like, where did some of these people go? Did they leave for winter vacation and we just met
Probably.
them once? And then we find out that they're at the other sorority that we had no idea there was a second one in the movie until the security guard went there.
Oh,
That was not on Elm Street.
it was on
It
Elm
was on,
Road.
yeah,
I don't know why they didn't even call it Elm Street. Why not? Because like you can't get in trouble for naming something Elm Street.
maybe they did. I mean, maybe they just didn't want to make this one of those movies. Then why call it Elm? Why not just call it, I don't know, Smith
Yeah,
Avenue?
right. They wanted to do the reference without doing the reference, and it's weird. It just kind of makes you go Elm Road. Really? Is there really even an Elm Road anywhere? Like, you see the whole line in one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets is that Freddy says every city has an Elm Street, you
Right.
know, and that's the joke. But it's also so they could have put Elm Street in there, and that would have been like every city has an Elm
Oh
Street.
no,
This city
they,
has an
they,
Elm Street.
that's funny. That and this is a serious commentary, even though it has supernatural elements.
I guess I don't know. Anyway, everybody, that was our little review of it. I
Little.
know a lot of yeah, not little review, but I know a lot of people did not like this movie. A lot of people love this movie for some odd reason. I don't.
I watched some of the guys that you probably watched too. Like I did watch the review of this from like a Chris Struckman. I
Oh,
watched
okay.
him. He hated this movie. And then I watched Jeremy Johns. He
Hmm.
hated this movie. And I watched a couple other reviews. And normally these guys, especially like Chris Struckman, who gives good reviews to things, he hated this. Plus, we're
Yeah,
all men.
he
We're all
actually
white men.
that's one of the reasons he got out of doing reviews, I think, is he said that he's tired of saying bad things about stuff because
Now he only does good reviews, and I unsubscribed and I don't watch him now because I'm not going to do that.
but I'm surprised you watched him on this one, I guess, because you know.
I typed in the film and the date and I did reviews and they just kind of popped up in a row, and so his face on the thumbnail was like, and I'm like, oh good, he hated it. Let's watch this one because it was from 3 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was right before he started to like become a filmmaker, I guess, or whatever. Go back to wanting to become a filmmaker. That
Which
was
shouldn't
his.
matter. You should be able, if you're a filmmaker, to either like or dislike a movie. You shouldn't just have to like movies. It doesn't make
I
sense.
know, but he had a huge following, and I think a lot of people are always afraid that like companies aren't going to hire you if you've said stuff that diverts them from their brand, you know, and stuff. And maybe he wants to
If
work with
if
Blumhouse someday.
if anything, you should want to talk to those people. Why didn't you like my movie? What could we have done differently instead of just a bunch of kiss asses that
Well,
love every
generally that's what
single thing
target
you do?
audiences are for, you know. That's what audience, things are for. Like,
I mean, that it's ridiculous when I hear all Star Trek is good, all Marvel is good, all Star Wars is good. No, it's not. It's not. There's bad stuff in there too. There's good and there's bad. If you're a real true fan, you can point these things out and still enjoy what you watch or listen to. I'm a huge Monkees fan. I've been with them since like 1976, 77, and I can name bad stuff and I can name great stuff. That to me is a true fan. If you can be objective to what you like
right.
instead of just everything is great, except for Tom Cruise, everything he did do was great. So there's that.
I don't know. His last movie bombed.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do a whole video just on that one movie and why I think it bombed. So it's a great film. It's never on a list. If you watch these lists, it's not on the list. Technically, it did make money, just not the money they wanted. And it is considered to be a good movie. I mean, if you go off of you know Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, it's got a great review, critic and viewer wise. It just for some reason just bombed. Nobody knows why. And apparently Paramount doesn't know why because they're very quiet about it. So, but once again, see, I could say the film bombed. I could be objective.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for listening. Join us. We're still doing Mainstream Monday. We have one more episode left of that for the season, and then we'll be back in March for a lot of those, and then I think we'll be back in January for another horror film lover reviews. Once again, we don't even know what we're doing yet, so I
I
thought
was
we did,
completely
but
unaware.
I'm sure
I
we'll
would
be
say
back.
if we're going to do something where it doesn't have to be a horror movie, I would say let's do Fantasy Island because man, did I hate that movie.
All right, let's try not to find ones we hated, man. Like try to find ones we enjoy, man. Like
But we
because
are
just
reviewing
finding
those.
what
We are reviewing things like that. We're
right, and we're already,
Insidious and Conjuring, and that's all stuff that we like. We're huge James, like one supporter. So I think throwing in some that we don't, we'll
maybe
discuss it. We'll figure it
we'll
out.
discuss it. We'll figure it out. All right,
I mean,
everybody.
you obviously picked me for this because I hated it. You didn't pick it for me
Um,
because I liked it.
I mean, I knew you hated it. I didn't pick you necessarily because you hated it. I just picked it because it's close to Christmas and it's a Christmas movie. So it'll get probably some
If you want a great Christmas film, go watch Xmas and Xmas 2 Bloodslay. There you go. They're on Tubi for
Black
free.
Xmas, the new one.
That's racist.
Wait, so Black Christmas?
No, that's racist.
We just watched a movie called Black Christmas.
Just like you can't say White Christmas anymore. Because it's a toxic movie that deals with white people at Christmas. It's White Christmas.
I thought you can sing that song, Baby, whatever.
I was looking at the subtitles and for the songs, and I was wondering, are they going to put in songs here that are considered to be politically incorrect? Like whatever, yeah, that Baby It's Cold Outside or whatever that
Baby,
song
it's
is.
cold outside.
Yeah,
It did not.
which people don't realize it's just not the guy that tries to keep the girl. In the movie, the girl tries to keep the guy too. So it goes both ways. The guy is trying to get away from her, and she keeps dragging him back, while the other guy is trying to get the girl to stay too. So it goes both ways. It's not just one way.
Anyway, everybody, hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you watched it all the way to the end, thank you so much. Please comment.
Thank you.
Please comment. I don't know why you do this to yourselves, but all right. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Because we're entertained.
Bye.
Bye.